as you might know, we have a Slash Royale coming on, and like this week, the next 7 days, we will have a 50% discount in gold upgrades. So I just made the duty to make a tier list about the best cards that you should be upgrading for this event. And we're gonna start also, as you can see, like I rank them all so you can see, but I'm gonna explain why you should upgrade these cards. Especially, I'm gonna have 3 points, like how good they are, the diversity, I mean, in how many decks you can use those cards, and also how powerful are in the meta. All right. First, we're gonna start with tower troops. I think Cannoneer so far will be like the best tower troop, paired with the EVO Wizard or cards with Poison, EVO Tesla, or even like a Splash AoE damage units. Cannoneer is pretty good, even though it has way less HP. I think it's way better than Dagger Duchess. So if you're gonna upgrade a tower troop, I'll suggest this one should be the Cannoneer, because Dagger Duchess isn't that great and Cannoneer is right now. Then we have the Princess Tower, so of course that's pretty good. So go ahead. By the way, if you guys make if you guys find valuable this content, please make sure to like and subscribe. So now we're gonna start with the spells. I think poison is pretty good because I mean Cannoneer and poison have a good synergy, especially because, as you might know, like Cannoneer doesn't deal quite good against the swarm units and against the bait and blah blah blah. So having a lock, for example, a poison or a void and lock will be the best ideal setup for the Cannoneer. And as well, I have all of these spells. I have ranked them all. I think the first one will be Poison. Poison is pretty good, so go ahead. Then I will have Void. Like Poison and Void are the top tier spells right now. As for like big spells, Then we have Lock, which is pretty good. Then I will put Arrows. I think arrows are great. And then I don't know. I think I will put like Nado and even delivery. I think delivery will be great now, since now we have a hunter and cannon card buffs. So I'm gonna talk about it later. So as you can see, I think these are the best spells, especially because they synergize pretty good against all the meta. I mean, Void is broken, as you might know, but yeah, these ones do especially pretty good with the tower troops. So we will have these ones as our top tier spells. Now we're gonna go with the support units. I think these support units are like pretty good, especially because, as you can see, they have one thing in common. Almost every single unit that I have here, they survive to spells. I mean, besides Mother Witch and maybe the Goblin Demolisher, like most of them survives to spell well. And Skellydrax too, of course, and Firecracker. But most of them are tanky units, and tanky units are so good in this meta, especially because we see a lot of arrows and a lot of void. So I think having Phoenix will be a great option for you. Like even if you're playing RG, if you're playing Giant, if you're playing like Graveyard or Drill or Lava Hound, like in almost any deck you can fit in the Phoenix. And if you don't have enough legendary cards, because I know upgrading a legendary sometimes is quite hard, then you can go for the Mega Minion. It's always the safest option, and I mean, it's way easier to upgrade a Mega Minion than a Phoenix. So if you want to wait a little until you buy an offer, or maybe just to get enough cards, you can get the Mega Minion, which definitely is gonna get the job done if you don't have Phoenix. Inferno Dragon is pretty great too, and Skellydrax, I mean, if you don't really have more than commons in your wildcards. Now Bowler and Cannon Card are pretty good. Like those units, Bowler and Cannon Card, are quite similar, because Cannon Card does great against Mortar, against Xbow, against Mega Knight, against Pekka, and Bowler does way better against recruits, against bait, against piggies, against Hog, for example. So having these two units will be great, especially if you're gonna use a tank like Goblin Giant or maybe a Mega Knight or a Giant. It is always gonna be those a pretty safe pick. Now, going with the Evo Wizard, I think Evo Wizard is by far the best range unit in the game, because of the shield and the splash. And also, if you're gonna use Cannoneer, you might as well use the Evo Wizard, because you rather have Evo Wizard instead of a Hunter, for example, because the splash is so good and the damage is so good. So EVO Wizard is a must. Demolisher come into the game and take the place of the Musketeer. Like usually, if you have a Musketeer deck, you might as well use the Goblin Demolisher. I know the Goblin Demolisher doesn't hit air units, but if you have another unit like Inferno Dragon or Mega Minion or Phoenix, then you can go with the Demolisher, you know, because it's pretty much a wall breaker that also does AoE damage, so you can defend and then deal with the other troops like minions with explosion of the Goblin Demolisher. Now, since we saw a lot of Cannoneer, of course, there is a lot of bait going on, way more bats, way more graveyard, way more mortal bait, for example, or even recruits. So, well, that's why we have Mother Witch. I think Mother Witch synergizes pretty good with Cannoneer. Also, the Piggies takes a lot of time for the Cannoneer to deal with them. So, I think Musketeer is pretty good. Mother Witch is pretty good. Also, Hunter. I think Hunter is a good card because now it will have more splash damage. So we will see. I don't really know how good it will be, but I think definitely the top tier are like Wizard, um, Mother Witch, definitely Bowler, and Goblin Demolisher. So if you're gonna upgrade a range unit, go for these ones. I think these two might be great, but we need to see how the meta evolves. Now we have the Fisherman. I think Fisherman is the greatest um, melee support unit. With RG does amazing, but you can also use Fisherman in Pekka, in Mega Knight, in E-Giant, in Bait, even in Drill. I mean, if you want to make your decks better, you can always try Fisherman. You are not gonna regret it. I'm 100% sure. Now we have like the honorific mentions to the Firecracker and the Exi because these cards are pretty good. You know, they usually are pretty annoying and also they deal quite good with the mid ladder deck. So if you want to create a card, go for these ones. And for the splash units, I'll say Ghost and Valkyrie. Ghost is great because also counter pushes and is pretty annoying, but also Valkyrie, it's pretty tanky. And of course, it's gonna help us clear with like almost any single like swarm push or whatever, you know. So now let's go with the win conditions. Pekka has been so good for such a long time, and I mean, in the recent metas, we've seen like a lot of giant, goblin giant, mega knight. So that's why Pekka is so good, and especially with Pekka Ram Rider or Pekka Ram, and even Pekka Graveyard and Pekka Balloon. Those are pretty good, but these ones are the best. So Pekka pretty much with everything. I mean, if you have Pekka, you might as well have a Phoenix or a Mother Witch or a Wizard in your deck, plus Goblin Demolisher, and if you have Void and Sap, then there you go. You have a pretty good Pekka deck. But if you don't have Void, you can go for Fireball, you can go for Arrows. I mean, there is a lot of synergy with the Pekka, especially with all of these cards here. Pekka can fit in almost every single deck and can work with almost every single unit. So now let's go with the Goblin Giant. Goblin Giant, even the non-evolution form, it's pretty good because as well you can use a bowler, you can use a mother witch, you can use a fisherman, you can use guards, you can use goblins. I mean, you can use like almost anything with Goblin Giant and will be a good deck, you know, a pretty good solid deck. The same with Ram Rider. Ram Rider, you can go with Pekka, you can go with Mega Knight, and will be pretty good. Even with Monk, Monk and Inferno Dragon synergizes quite good with the Ram Rider. Now we have the drill. I mean, drill again. If you have Cannoneer, you have drill, poison, lock, Valkyrie, Evo Tesla. I mean, you already have a pretty good deck. So that's why those are the best because usually they do great against the meta, but also they don't get super countered by it, you know? Now we're gonna have recruits. I mean, recruits bait is pretty good, like recruits, mighty miner, even Evo Goblin Barrel can work with the Evo recruit, a pretty good solid option like if you want to have some fun and of course make nuts your opponent, you should go with that one. Now we have the graveyard. Since Cannoneer came back, graveyard it's been pretty good. Of course there is a way more Mother Witch now than it was before, but I mean we can always deal with that with arrows and sap or arrow snowball, and we're gonna take care of that. All right, then we have the Evo Ram. Of course you can go with Pekka, you can go with Mega Knight. Then we have the Evo Mortar and the regular Mortar. Both are pretty good. And Miner and Lava Hound are decent. You know, you can always put them in like in Lava Loon or Lava Miner or whatever. Goblin Barrel is pretty great, but I'll say the Evo it's way better. RG Evo RG is way better, so you can as well use it with all the other troops that you have. Now we have Monk. Monk and Skelly King will be my top tier cards to upgrade, definitely. Little Prince and Archer Queen, not so good because Void is in the meta, so they might as well just to hit them, you know, and that will be GG's. And Evo Drill is broken. RG is pretty solid, it's not broken, but it's super good. Evo Goblin Giant is super annoying, so you can also um make good decks with all of the cards that you saw here already. Oh man, the Evo Goblin Barrel Bait is so good, especially if you're gonna play against Cannoneer. It's great. Evo Skelly's pretty solid. Evo Mortar is slowly coming back to the meta, I'll say. Evo Tesla, by far the best defensive structure in the game. Then we have Evo Valkyrie, and Evo Knight, and Evo Firecracker that are not so good, but are quite decent. You can also check out my videos in this channel, so you guys can see like which decks you should be using with, especially with RG and Pekka. I have a lot of content from the top ladder. So, okay guys, I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much. If you enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.